Hey folks, this is Dr. Grimes, and I am coming to you today from my office on the campus of GSW to talk a little bit about the syllabus and specifically about the grading component of the syllabus so that you can get an idea of what you're going to need to do to get pretty close to the grade that you want to get. First of all, to confirm that we're in the right place at the right time, we're talking about human resource staffing. The whole idea, hopefully you've had a chance to look at that little introductory video that I put on our homepage, is figuring out how to hire the right people. We're going to do that by trying to accomplish a couple of things here. Go ahead and print out the syllabus if you haven't already done so. You can pause the video real quick while you pull it up and print it out. Might be helpful to have a copy of it there in front of you as I talk through this so you can make some notes. Assuming that you've done that you have actually paused the video and printed the thing and come back to the video, let's talk for a second. A couple of major components here. It's a lengthy multi-step process to do what I want to do in this class. So periodically along the way, I'm going to ask you to do some updates and tell me how things are going. Beyond that, the way that the class is going to be structured is really kind of a work on some projects towards a goal. Each one of the major steps has points associated with it that are then weighted after they're graded to come up with a final grade. Let me throw in the idea here now that midterm is going to be a little bit weird in terms of giving you a grade because things are weighted and we won't do some things until the end of the semester. When it comes time for midterm grades to be posted, I'm simply going to add up the number of points that you've gotten, compare it to the number of points you could have gotten, and give you that grade. Nothing will be weighted at that point, just a simple comparison of attained to possible. This will save me a little bit of time putting a note on the homepage at midterm to tell you how I got the grade that I did. Now back to reality here in current time. Attendance is going to be a part of this grade, and you're thinking, this is an online class, how in the heck do you have attendance? One of the things that frustrates me most semesters is that in spite of my best intentions to get you active in the class and to get you interacting with me, a lot of students don't log in very frequently, and there are times, especially towards the end of the semester, as we're really getting into the thick and heavy part of this, where I've got to communicate to you, and I put a note out there or I email you, and you don't log in for 3 or 4 days at a time, and it's something that I've got to have now. You don't even know for a couple of days. So there is an attendance component to this class. And yeah, I can track attendance. It's really manual labor for me, but I'm willing to do it because it's that important to me that you log in on a regular basis. Let me show you what, there's a report that I can run in GoView, and I'm going to show you kind of what that looks like. This is a student who will remain nameless from spring of this past year in, as you see, current issues in human resources. It tells me that during the course of the semester, this student logged in 160 times, and the higher the bar, the more frequently. Each one of these bars is 1 day. The higher the bar, the more times they logged in that day. So you can see that there was a period here where they were logging in pretty frequently, but then there is a period where there's not much. But I can scroll down here day by day by day and tell exactly what they've done on any particular day. At the end of the semester, I'm going to go through here. Like I said, it's going to take me a little while, but at the end of the semester, I'm going to go through here and pull up your individual record, and I'm going to look and see how many days you logged in. And however many days that you, at least once, on the 28th, this person won. On the 27th, twice, 5 different sessions here, 7 here, 18 here. As long as you've logged in at least once, it'll show up here, and I will compare that number of days that you've logged in to the number of days that this semester has been active, and you'll have an 82% or you'll have a 95% or a 44%, and that's what's going to go into the gradebook under attendance. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. Please trust that I have got a way to figure out how often you have logged in. The more you log in, the better you're going to do on that attendance part. All right. There are a number of major blocks of information here that I have split up a chapter into pieces. You can see here that chapter 4, I've got 3 different pieces. We don't look at the whole chapter, we look at specific pieces of it, and I've recorded video lectures on those pieces. C4A doesn't mean much right now, but it's a portion of chapter 4. At the end of a number of these chapters, there is a quiz that goes over all of the pieces of that chapter. So when we've done 4A, 4B, and 4C, then there is a quiz that opens after 4C. In order to see the quiz on GoView, you've got to have at least opened each of the 3 videos that go with that chapter. You don't have to watch the whole thing. You've at least got to open them, though, or you'll never ever see the quiz. Last time I taught this class and did this, there were some folks that didn't watch the videos, didn't think they needed them, and because they didn't open the videos and hopefully watch them, they never had the quiz show up on their home screen, and there were 3 or 4 quizzes that they completely missed because they didn't bother to open the videos. If there is a 3-part series of videos for a particular chapter, the quiz will open after you have looked at least opened all 3 of those videos. In this case, August the 19th through the 25th, you're going to get the 2nd and 3rd parts of chapter 4. And because that 3rd and final part of the chapter is open during this week, on Sunday morning of this week, the quiz will be flagged to open once you've looked at the 3 videos. So you can take the quiz anytime during that week. Chapter 5. Got a part A, a part B, nothing that week, and then a part C. So during week number 5, quiz number 2 will open if you have looked at videos for 5A, 5B, 5C. Again, when it comes to interviewing and how to develop questions, there's 3 pieces to it. The 3rd and final piece comes open during week 6, so quiz 3 opens on Sunday morning of week 6 if you have looked at all 3 of those pieces. So chapter 4, chapter 5, the interviewing section, chapter 6, chapter 9, chapter 10, chapter 11, and chapter 2 will all have quizzes after you have looked at the videos that go with those chapters. It's important that you watch those videos too, because at some point during those chapters, I'm going to kind of pause what I'm talking about. I'm going to hold up an index card that says question 3, Philadelphia. And I'm going to say the answer to question number 3 on this quiz is Philadelphia. Now, on that quiz, there are going to be a number of questions. Typically, there's 5 or 6 true, false, and multiple choice questions. But then there might be 1 or 2 what I call wild cards. And you will have no idea what that wild card is if you haven't watched those videos. But when you get to that quiz, you'll say, number 7 he told me was Philadelphia, or number 3 he told me was Pine Tree, or something just really, really strange. The question will say the answer to question number 3 as given in the video was A, pine tree, B, computer screen, C, flip-flop, and D, ambitious. And you're going to go, that's got nothing to do with this chapter. Gosh, I wish I'd watched that video. So watch the videos, make a note, print out the PowerPoints that go with the videos, or make notes. You can access all of those things when you're taking the quizzes, but write down those wild cards. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, too, that there was at one time in the development of this class a quiz that went along with Chapter 7. And so somewhere in Chapter 7, I'm going to hold up cards that say wild cards. Don't worry about those wild cards for Chapter 7 because there's not a quiz for our class that goes with Chapter 7. Each one of those is worth 10 points. They're either 10 true, false, multiple choices and no wild cards. They're 1 point apiece. Or there are a series of multiple choice and true, false and a couple of wild cards, in which case the true, false, multiple choice are 1 point apiece and the wild cards are 2 points apiece. So if you miss both of the wild card questions, the best you can get is a 6 if you got everything else right. Again, let me stress for you that you need to watch those videos. 8 quizzes, 10 points apiece. That's weighted at 5% of your grade. The total number of points that you got out of the total number of points possible is a fraction, 89%, weighted at 5%. Process updates 6 times during the semester. You're going to give me an update. The first update is basically when are you going to have, or when are you willing to do interviews? If you're online, you're going to do video conference interviews with candidates early in the semester during the weeks of November the 4th through November the 17th. You're going to come up with 5 times that you're willing to set aside an hour to do a video interview with one of your candidates. And early in the semester, you're going to tell me, here are the 5 days and here are the 5 times. I'm going to do one on November the 6th at 6 p.m. And I'm going to do one on November the 8th at 9 p.m. Now, you may want to do 2 back-to-back. I would really encourage that you don't do all 5 of them on the same day, because you need to be able to stop after you've done one, reflect on it, make some changes, make some adjustments, and get better as you go. But update 1 is basically what days and times. And then for update 2, update 3, update 4, you're in the middle of some big thing like writing a job description or creating questions for interviews or developing a matrix, and you're just going to give me an update on how's it going. What are you struggling with? Are you making progress? Are you going to finish on time? That kind of thing. Update number 5, you're getting ready to do your video interviews. So you and I are going to do a very quick, maybe 10-minute phone call, video conference interview where we get on the video channel and make sure that you know how to do it and that your equipment works right. Update number 5 is going to be a video call. The other 5 updates are just going to be drop boxes with a little Word document with a paragraph, all right? And then number 6 is kind of how are the interviews going. It's designed to be in the middle of the interview period. You can give me some feedback. These aren't showing up, or they're short, or I'm struggling, or whatever. They're going real well, whatever the case may be. Those updates, there's 6 of them, 10 points apiece. Basically, it's all or nothing. Did you do it? Did you not? And that weighs at 5%. You've got 60 out of 60. That's 100 at 5%. Or you've done 5 out of the 6. That's 83% at 5% weighted. The job description is one of the biggest things about this class that's going to have value for you. So it weighs at 20%. The job description, I'm going to have a separate video and a template with all of the things that I want in it. To show you or the candidate what the essential functions are, what the context is that you're working within, and what skills, knowledge, and abilities, KSAs, knowledge, skills, and abilities, you've got to have to do this job. And I'm going to give you a template with headings and then a little description as to what goes in here, and then you're going to have to replace that description with text that helps the candidate understand this stuff. That's graded at 100 points, and it's worth 20%. Interview Tools has 2 pieces. It's your questions and your matrix. Every one of your questions needs to, or most of your questions, 80% of your questions at least, need to tie back to the essential functions on your job description or the knowledge, skills, and abilities on your job description. So you're going to develop good questions, open-ended, discuss, give me an example, tell me a story kinds of questions, not yes or no, what year was that kind of thing. That's worth 100 points. And then the matrix, and we'll have other videos related to these 2 particular items where I talk through it and help you out. Each one of those worth 100 points. You get an 80 out of 100 on one, you got a 92 out of 100 on another. That's 172 points out of 200. That's a percentage, it's 86% or something like that. And then that 86% is weighted at 15 points. 15%, all right? Then there's a recruitment plan. This is the job I have as a receptionist. Here are 20 different sources of candidates, the Department of Labor and a recruiting firm, a headhunter, word of mouth. Which 5 or 6 of them do you think really would be good, and which couple are just not appropriate at all to this? You're gonna create for me a recruitment plan. That's a minor thing. It's only 5%, but it's important that you know where to go to find people and not just leave it up to chance. All right. Then there are interviews at the end of the semester, the 2 weeks right before Thanksgiving. You're going to conduct the interviews with your candidates, and you're going to give me feedback on them. They're going to give me feedback on you. In fact, they're going to fill out a survey about how well you did, and most of your grade comes from their feedback on how well you did. Again, there'll be a separate video where I talk through all that and tell you exactly how you're going to be graded and what you need to do well. That is 30% of the class. Being able to do an interview is the critical component of this class, and so almost a third of your grade relates to these video interviews. Now, before you freak out about, gosh, a third of my grade is resting on these things, my experience having taught this thing 5 or 6 times is that most people do extremely well. If you are polite, if you are courteous, if you are respectful, that's half the battle in terms of doing well on this. And people will generally grade you very well if you're respectful and if you're courteous. That's 30% of your grade. All right, and then there are 2 exams. There's one that covers Chapter 1, 7, 4, 5, and the interview pieces. It's going to be an essay-based test. It is through ProctorU, but it's a 2-hour test where you're just going to kind of answer some questions and apply concepts and things like that. I don't think that multiple choice and true false, while that works well for quizzes, doesn't really work well in a class like this to demonstrate that you understand concepts and can apply things. It's going to take a while to type all this out. So there's a 2-hour test, but there's only 2 of them. The second test is really the final exam. It does not cover any of this stuff up here. It will cover Chapter 6, Chapter 9, 10, 11, and 2, and then there may be a couple of questions that kind of think back over broad brush strokes. What did you learn and how did it go and so forth? And those are worth 15% of the class. All right, that's mainly what I wanted to do in this particular video, is to talk through these pieces. As I mentioned, several of these things, the job description, the interview tools, the questions, the matrix, the interview process itself, I'm going to have a little bit lengthier, more specific videos on for you to understand how that works. If you have questions for the rest of the syllabus, the parts that I haven't covered after you've looked at this, give me a call or shoot me an email or something. And the best way to communicate in mass with the class is to record these videos. So if there's something that's confusing to you, it's probably also confusing to other people, and I can either put a note on the homepage or I can record another video and put a link out there. Hopefully that gives you a pretty good idea of what I want you to accomplish and how I'm going to assess you in this particular class. And I hope that you look at this thing, and even if it seems a little overwhelming, that you go, you know, I can do this. As long as I pace myself and I don't fall behind, as long as I get good feedback from Dr. Grimes, as long as I'm pretty clear on what it is I'm going to do and how I'm going to be graded, this is something that I can do, and I can see that there's some value in this as an HR professional or as a management personnel. All right, give me a call if you have questions. Otherwise, that's it for now. I'll be looking forward to another video here soon where I talk about the first big piece of the class.